Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Lou. This is the Reaction Podcast brought to you by Betway for all your sports betting activities. Go with friends of the program, Betway. You can hit the QR code on the screen that you see here or trace the link in the description of the podcast. Raptors lose tonight in Miami, 121 to 111. Actually, a pretty fun game all around. Well played. Miami honestly caught fire from three in the second half, and that kind of was the separating factor. But lots of good performances from the Raptors tonight. Thought Scottie Barnes was great. He had a triple-double. RJ Barrett, quite good, at least on the offensive end. Jakob Poeltl only missed one shot all night. Jakob Poeltl might be back. And Jakob Poeltl continues to start and look pretty composed out there, even though he is obviously a rookie. But it's been a while since we've done this. It's been a while since we brought on Samson Folk, Raptors Republic, number one, Raptors breakdown guy, insider, content creator. What do you want to call yourself?
I don't think I'm number one at anything, truly. Just a guy,
Okay. Just Raptors guy. All right.
Raptors guy, sure.
Yeah.
That works just as well.
What's going on, Samson, man? How you doing, man?
Good. It has been a little while, I guess. There's been lots of fun basketball.
Yeah.
I think that gives us a good opportunity to check in with one another, what we've been thinking lately.
Okay.
And also, like, on top of that, I think like another fun game by the Raptors. It's a tanking season to some degree. It's a fun season to another. We'll see how it goes.
They are getting every single opportunity to see young guys, and as long as young guys play well, I think no one's upset with anything really with the team. A couple of things I wanted to get to with you, but obviously let's start with the game itself. Raptors coming into this one against Miami. I mean, the big difference here is Miami shot 21 of 54 from three. Toronto went 11 of 29. It's just so hard to make up 30 points of difference at the three-point line. It really helped when Miami was like 2 of 17 in the first quarter from three, but I was like, this is not going to last. Like, the Raptors are kind of giving them some pretty good looks. They also got a lot of good shooters. And then, once their bench, it was like Terry Rozier, Kevin Love, Jaime Jaquez, Tyler Hero. Those were kind of the four guys who did the majority of the damage there. But, I mean, even Bam was hitting like buzzer-beating corner threes. Like, every starter for the Heat made at least 2 threes. Like, it's just, I mean, that was the big differential. But I thought Toronto hung in there for a little bit. What was the biggest takeaway you had from watching this performance with the Raptors?
The Raptors have struggled, I guess, recently to involve Jakob in the offense, and I was pretty impressed with how they attacked his mismatches, attacked the Miami zone, and kept him involved. That was something that I really liked. And as far as like the defense, I mean, they hung in there. They won the paint battle. But then, I think that, as you said, the Heat finished on, I think, a 19 of 34 stretch from downtown.
Yeah.
Everybody on their roster hit a three except for Alec Burks, which maybe you would have expected some. The Terry Rozier hellfire was pretty crazy. 4 of them. It was like watching RJ and Scotty problem solve in this game was pretty fun. And there was also some pretty like yucky decision making from both of them. But that is part of the growing pains of doing this, is like seeing how guys do in these pressure moments and over the course of a game, how much they, I guess, value possessions.
Yeah. Let's start with Scotty, go to RJ, then go to Jakob. Sorry, Jakob, but you're just not going to take priority. Even if you go 10 of 11 from the field and have just an awesome night in general, you're still going to be third on the pecking order. Let's start with Scottie Barnes. There was one play. I mean, there's lots of plays in this one from Scotty that were really impressive. The one where he was triple teamed and then he throws a cross-court pass somehow directly to Ochabaji and he just knocks down the corner, like the wing three. That was really nice. There was another play, I think, right at the end of the first half where we'll hopefully get Samson back on, or maybe I'm broken. No, is my internet bad again? Holy. All right, hold on. Is it me? Am I lagging? Fuck's sakes. Yeah, people in the chat, let me know. Samson, did Samson drop off? Okay, looks like I'm okay. Okay, I'm okay. I'm gonna carry this for now until we get Samson back on. But yeah, the second play was at the end of the first half. There was a sequence where the Raptors obviously had the shot clock turned off and they were trying to hold for the last shot. And there was a sequence where Scotty had the ball up top, probably guarded by Jimmy, and he wanted to get a screen. Now, so first off, the option was Jakob Poeltl, who wanted to come over. That's traditionally the option that you would typically go to. We're gonna bring Samson back here. What's going on, Samson?
Not much. Computer crashed. We're back.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty quick rebound on that. So all good, all good. I was just describing a play at the end of the first half. Scotty wanted to, take the last shot, set up the play, and he wanted to call for a screen. Jakob was the first guy to come over for the screen. He was like, no, hold up. I don't want you to bring Bam Adebayo with you on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring Jakob Poeltl in the screen because I want to attack Tyler Hero. Now, Jacoby was in like the buried deep in the corner between, and there was RJ between Scotty and that corner. And the Heat saw this and they were like, okay, well, we'll try to pre-switch a little bit. We'll try to get Haywood Highsmith switched on to Jacoby as he comes to get the ball or get the screen. And that way we can kind of like keep Tyler Hero out of it. Scotty sees this in real time and just immediately blows by his man, gets into the paint 2 feet. Bam has to slide over to contest, and he shoveled it over to Jakob. That's just such a like genius level play in terms of just organizing the team, seeing like manipulating the entire action around him, and then making the read on the fly to sort of change it and adapt and making a great play. I thought Scotty played like phenomenal all night. The only two things I didn't necessarily like were him like, I guess, missing a wide open three and then pulling up for another one right afterwards. It felt like he was kind of chasing the game at that point, but still, I don't think that would have made a difference. Yeah, what were some of your standouts from Scotty tonight?
What you brought up is really good, is seeing that the Heat are trying to pre-switch and get into like an advantageous defensive position, blowing up that action by being proactive. That's stuff that, LeBron, there's always that Twitter thread on how he was picking apart the pre-switch and got to point A and point B. That is something that I've been watching for a long time, is how Scotty and Jakob are going to be able to get around their skill sets, which mitigate them as pick roll partners, because everyone switches their actions. For years,
Sure.
They haven't been able to get a good synergy going because it's just the switch or the push switch. How Scotty can take advantage of that is the reject. As teams kind of load up to get into switch, the bottom man, whether it's Bam or whoever, isn't as prepared to take on his drive, isn't as well positioned. There's opportunities there. Something that they actually did a much better job in this game too is if they did get the switch, what they did was Jakob didn't post middle, he posted sideline, and they'd spray, like the corner guy would drop even deeper so that they could have a pass to Scotty, to Jakob, and they couldn't double from the top, which is what has happened in recent games. Like if they run the switch, if Scotty goes to Jakob, they just double off Scotty, and he was shooting 24% from three coming into this game. So that was a nice adjustment from the Raptors, nice adjustment from Scotty. And as far as just like the shot chart isn't what I would want, I don't think. I know some people might think like, just let him shoot threes, see how it goes. It's a bit heavy of the 3-point die to me. But as far as like the offense is always going to be fun with Scotty. He pushes really hard. He I guess the play that Mobo got hurt on, the way he threaded the needle to Mobo before Bam came in, like he's able to see the court in such a different lens because of his height and because of his passing prowess. But defensively is everything to me. He completely changes the complexion of what the Raptors do defensively. He has elevated it immediately upon stepping on the floor, and that I think has been the most impressive. Have you been clocking that lately? Does that stick out to you a lot as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's like born on the stats. I mean, tonight not so much, just because Miami caught fire from three. Whatever. Like Miami played really well. Like I actually gotta, salute to them. Whatever. But like, the Raptors defensively have been pretty decent since Scotty's come back. I don't know what the numbers are after tonight's game, but probably still top 10 range. And then like the 4 or 5 games he's been back, I think functionally, seeing him. I mean, first off, there's a great intensity from what he's doing. He's like you can hear him through the broadcast all the time. But the Raptors are able to switch a little bit more. I feel like with him, I feel like he's pressuring the ball, even though he's huge. He can obviously always do that. And then we're not seeing as much like backline help, at least from me. But actually, I don't know. To be honest, he's kind of just like rotating really well in general. So if you want to call that backline help, you can call that too. But Yeah, I mean, defensively, the numbers they're good. I think more than anything else is just like, as you mentioned, figuring out the offensive portions. But I wanted to ask you about those defensive points that you're seeing from Scotty, and then go back to the offensive points, because there's another play that I thought was also really sexy from Scotty. But you talk to me first about the defense.
Yeah. So if anybody wants a long breakdown of the defense, myself and Lewis went over his tape of one game. It's on the Raptors Republic YouTube channel. Good plug. But
Synergy.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as what he's been, as far as the backline help, I think that he has more cachet as a backline helper. So it's not as much like sweeping big game-changing plays, but more so that his presence helps deter that before it happens, and that he has been cheating into the lane more often, and it just results in less drives and more of the ball pinging around the court. And that points to your point about how is he doing in rotation, and he's been quite good. Every player misses rotations, every player gums stuff up, but I think he's been pretty good defensively. And as you mentioned, blowing up plays, the mobility relative to his size, it changes what the Raptors are able to do on that end. But the sexy play, I would love to hear what you've got.
Oh, the other sexy play was the first off, it was Scotty plus 4 rookies in the lineup, which is like the ultimate developmental season. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, this is what it looks like. Okay, you got your budding franchise star, and then you got 4 rookies on the floor. Number one, how do those 4 rookies look? And number two, can the star actually elevate the level of play for all of these guys? Kind of similar to kind of how Kyle used to do that. With Kyle on the bench used to always be a thing.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. And I think the play in mind that I had was the Heat were zoning, as they do, and especially with Bam off the floor. And I think Scotty had the ball at the top, and he just like waved Jameson out the way. He was like, "Get the hell out of the way." And I don't even think Jameson knew what was going on. He's like, "Okay, I guess you don't want me around. I'll just cut to the opposite side. I'll just hide in the corner." And in the process of Jameson Battle cutting out of the top of the floor area, that created just a bit of a gap for Scotty to thread this like fastball right down to Jonathan Mobo. And it was kind of like a no-look situation too. I guess he kind of didn't want to give it away with his eyes to the defense to know where to react. And Mobo was momentarily open because of that. It's like, I don't know if Bam was like tagging Jameson on the cut or something like that, but it just created this like tiny window. And again, it's just like those sequences where he's like reading the game on behalf of like his teammates. Those are always the ones that really stand out to me.
Yeah, it's always good. And this is rookies move a lot of the time. And that's why Kyle could kind of play with anybody, because Kyle could always recognize the pinhole, and Scotty recognized the pinhole as well. And Scotty, even more so than Kyle, is a guy who's like, I want to fit the ball through that. I want to see what happens if I try and make that pass. And he's taller too, so less arc on the passes he makes. They get to their the ideal destination faster. The ability to recognize when players are coming in and out of open floor, in and out of space, I think Scotty is one of the best in the league. And you saw it earliest as a transition player with a live dribble, watching the defense. Transition is all about people moving quickly into pockets, quickly out of them. And that's why I think Scotty has really translated so well to being able to do that in the half court. And it's something he struggled with initially as a player, but something that I think now Mobo is just sliding along the baseline. It's for a split second, but he's there. He sees them. Battle slides open on the wing. Ochai slides open on the wing. I know that's not the lineup you're talking about, but his ability to recognize guys is really great. It's not prescient. It's not like seeing the future, but it's seeing the present as it is and reacting, in the perfect way a lot of times.
Yeah. Those, I think, for me, were probably the biggest things with Scotty. I mean, he ends up with a triple-double here. I guess. Do you want
very good?
Do you want to have a conversation about the threes a little bit? I mean, okay. So we didn't talk after the Pelicans game. I think he was like 2 for 12 or something like that. Yeah. And this one, he goes 3 of 8. It really helps, I feel like, if you knock down your first couple of shots from 3, because it really establishes you. Like, and this is just like even just at a very amateur level. I'm like, if I hit my first 2 shots, I pick up. Then the rest of the run, they're like, we're guard him. He's a shooter. Meanwhile, I was like, if I break my first 2 shots, like I could finish like 2 of 8. Either scenario, be guarded very differently. Scotty did make his first 2 threes, which is nice, but I think I'm relatively okay with the catch and shoots. But some of the pull up threes, I just feel like I don't think that's a good shot. And then you get to that debate of like, is this development or not? So where do you fall on like the Scotty Barnes take it to the basket discourse.
Yeah, Trey and I were talking about that because he was not only is he shooting more threes, but he's floating above the break a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like he hasn't been active as a cutter very often lately since he's come back. He's not like in the mix in the paint as often. Like all of his points are coming on an insane diet of unassisted. He's just not making himself available to the pass from his teammates very often. And that changes his like the way he's trying to score.
Mm-hmm.
And since he's floating above the break, it's not James Harden level, but you can imagine what that looks like. He's taking a lot of early clock catch and shoot threes. He's taking pull-up threes. And yeah, development, I don't think you want to develop as like a floater above the break, especially when like a Scottie 45 cut, he catches at 16 feet.
Yep.
It's a bucket so many times, and oftentimes it's an end one. It's really impressive. Be in the mix, go get on the offensive glass. But also, like again, it's development. He might want more possessions initiating above the break. I don't know. What are those possessions worth?
Yeah,
it's a tough conversation, but I'll say it's not the most impactful way for him to play right now.
Right. I mean, I think a couple factors are going into that, right? Like they're choosing to start games now without a point guard, right? They've taken Davion. They said you're going to the bench. Jamal, you're coming off the bench as well. They're not really playing them together much, so they're kind of just like both splitting time. But yeah, obviously Scotty's kind of running point for that group. So I mean, it's you're gonna have to run point through the top of the floor. I mean, I think the other thing too is just like if you're not as confident in the rest of the teammates to be able to create offense, then it's a lot harder to like abdicate that, because like the top of the floor is the easiest part to pass to, especially above the 3-point arc. So I do think probably those two factors might be coming into play. I did enjoy seeing Scotty take a strong to the basket a couple of times. I know it's like it's hard because he can't just arbitrarily like beat his guy and just like go down. This is not like John Wall, you know what I mean, in his prime. So I do wonder in terms of like him and Jakob, if they can develop better chemistry, as you mentioned, working some of those, rejects. If you I mean, you can even, I guess, have RJ trigger the play and have Scotty cutting, but it also feels like, I mean, I think RJ is actually probably a better option to do some of that stuff, especially going downhill. But I mean, still, I think today actually was a really good balance. I like seeing him, being out in transition as well. That's always a great option. But the other guy today that created most of the offense for Toronto was RJ Barrett. There was a stretch there in the second quarter where it felt like, I mean, this game was kind of a game of runs anyway, especially when Miami started hitting some threes. But Toronto did have some good responses. A lot of that was from RJ taking it strong to the basket. Sort of like did a great job of like withstanding the contact from Miami and then sort of like using his elongated steps to get around and stretch and finish with left and the right hand. Pretty much that's all his baskets are that, and then a couple of like catch and shoot threes or maybe even pull up threes, so to speak. But like RJ, I thought overall had a pretty good impact on this game. I think the biggest sign of respect is always when the other team starts to blitz you. And you saw a lot of that with Miami, throwing 2 on the ball with RJ. Offensive, I guess let's start with offense because the defense is a whole separate conversation. But offensively, what did you see from RJ?
RJ, I think this season anyway has responded super well to blitzes. I think when you blitz, lefties always add like a different wrinkle, and a lot of guys blitz with a bias towards right-handed players.
Okay.
So there was at one point, I think like 8 or 9 games into RJ's season where per synergy, every time he had been blitzed, the Raptors scored. Like just because Boston and Denver both really didn't know how to guard it. And tonight, I mean, Miami, they didn't succeed blitzing him. Like it didn't go super well. And I think RJ does a really good job. He's comfortable with physicality at every level of the court. When you're getting blitzed like that, pressure and physicality, it does get some guys to like phase out, but RJ embraces that, looks for his read. Jakob is such a great release valve in those possessions. He makes himself so available as a, an option to pass to. That's great. And like RJ also, he has like his left-handed skip pass can go to a lot of places on the court. He works really hard. I thought like there was a lot of poor passes he made. I know he finished with 7 assists, but RJ, as far as like the passes, whether it was as the inbounder, whether it was he was hitting the guy in the middle of the zone, his passing was really like erratic in this game.
Yeah,
and the
6
attention
turnovers.
and the attention to detail as an initiator wasn't really there. But he works so damn hard to get deep, to get himself into positions, and he does cut Like that's starting to happen more so now that Scotty is back too. And I mean, like, and I thought he was actually quite poor defensively, but
we could talk about
So like RJ, good numbers tonight, fun numbers, and always works really hard, and it does like communicate the the ceiling that he has as a creator. He's still like above the 90th percentile as a pick and roll ball handler this season. There's good things happening. I just didn't think tonight was like the best example of when things go right for RJ, unfortunately, because he's fun.
No, he is fun. And I think to the point of like, because I think we kind of like, we look at RJ super objectively, and then we kind of almost handle Scotty with like a lot more caution, maybe in general. And we're like generally trying to lean more positive. But I think with RJ, like to give him his credit for this, your point about taking the bumps, this is Miami's like, I mean, besides having Bam and Jimmy, is like they're gonna play up defensively because their guys just get into you all the time. They bump you, they're over aggressive, right? They're in your face. The thing is like, if you can actually like just keep your head and like actually play through that a little bit, and RJ is certainly a guy who embraces that level of contact. It's like, okay, if you're gonna be that close to me, that makes it a little easier for me to get past you. That's why I feel like he's generally thrived against Miami. I mean, I even thought back to like when the Knicks played Miami like a couple playoffs ago. I think he had a really bad game one, but like the rest of the series, he was averaging like 20 a game, and it was like, I mean, it was also a Knicks offense back then that was like super ugly to watch, with Randall and Brunson was still trying to get into his zone, whatever. But like, I mean, he's had success in this matchup, and I think that's like a rare gift that like, sometimes I do wish that like Scotty can like withstand some of the like extra bit of contact that like RJ has, and just like maintain and just like find a way to go all the way to the basket. But at the same time, like as you mentioned, like the passing tonight, he like started the game right away with 2 turnovers, ends up with 6. Some of the plays that you mentioned, the sideline inbounds, is like simple stuff, just like wasn't executed. I think there's just like these moments of like focus that aren't there for RJ, and I don't quite understand why. I think honestly on the defensive end, I think that's a big part of it too. He does lose focus. He does lose track of his man. I was really like, I think whatever. It's not like he's been a strong defender overall, but like there was that game against Detroit when they lost with the Jaden Ivey buzzer beater. And I was like, RJ, man, what? I mean, he wasn't good on offense in that game either, but I was like, defensively, you're killing us, man. Like, what's going on? Why is RJ like such an ineffective defender, in your opinion?
He's pretty stiff. He's got heavy feet. He's not flex. He's not like he doesn't open quickly, and he doesn't move quick side to side. He's like a north-south guy.
Okay.
And a lot of defense is really about being able to cover up big spaces efficiently. That's why OG, despite having like all these balance problems, was always so good defensively, because he would just sit in big space and he'd be like, I know what I can take away. And he would comfortably sit there. RJ doesn't comfortably take away a lot of things. And if he gets shifted, he's not explosive getting back into the play, like in his defensive stance. If he opens, like if the barn door opens, then he kind of gets stuck there and he has trouble like exploding to get back into the play. Like a guy like Davion, the barn door, like the leg never swings open. He's always engaged. A guy like Scotty, the barn door opens all the time, but he's so long he can,
he's got
with his arms
recovery.
and his steps, he can get back into plays. RJ is in that middle ground where he doesn't really have either, which is a testament to how hard a worker he is offensively to find what makes him work. But as far as defensively, the attention to detail to stick and be quick with guys is not really there. He doesn't cheat in the right places necessarily. Like he gets himself into trouble by not doing the work earlier in the possession. He gets caught up on screens all the time because he doesn't have the footwork to get around it. When he's chasing guys off ball, he can lose, like he loses himself. All that kind of stuff puts him in a difficult spot. His best position is probably like as like a niche post defender because he's so strong. But, and that means like he should be really good tagging the roll. That means he should be good rotating to the nail. But that's like attention to detail defense. That's not athletic gifts. That's like read the scouting report, know when you got to dig and be there. That's
you're basically this is like the James Harden, like low-key, he's actually decent at post defense and he swipes the ball quite a bit, which I guess those two things are true. He's not hard level bad in terms of disengaged, but like,
of course.
I mean, I think with RJ, it's just like number one, there's things that you can control, there's things you can't control. Like some of the mobility concerns or whatever. Like, okay, I can accept that to some degree, but it's not like he's like I'm just saying, I've seen like worse athletes than RJ Barrett be better on defense, and a lot of that just comes down to like the aptitude. Number one, the focus. Number two, like the aptitude on defense. I do feel like RJ only puts his attention on one thing at a time. And like I feel there's sometimes where I'm like, okay, he's clearly got his attention on getting downhill. And then there's certain moments where he's like, okay, he clearly knows he's going to get blitzed. So then he's going to throw out some pretty creative passes. And it's like, those things are all good. But I think there's like a level of adaptability that I would love to see from him. And also just be able to like, I mean, there's basics on defense that I think I want to see more out of him. And I mean, look, obviously RJ long term. First off, he's signed up long term. He's played really well as well. And I think most of this season is about assessing like how these guys sort of fit off of each other, what works. Offensively, a lot works for RJ. Like a lot works for RJ. He is our best player getting into the paint. That creates a lot of good stuff for the team overall. He's showing more as a passer this year as well. But I think the limitations there, it's just also like, what about the defensive fit? You know what I mean? And I think that like, if you're looking long term in the starting lineup, if IQ's in that starting lineup, if RJ's in that starting lineup, if Gray's in that starting lineup, you just need more. You just need more. And luckily, we haven't actually, not luckily, unfortunately, we haven't had all guys available. But the upshot of that, if there is one, the silver lining is that we've been able to plug in the starting lineup with stronger defenders. So, I mean, that's for me, just like anything else, like something for the team to be working on, especially with RJ himself. But I think I want him to control what he can control. You know what I mean? Like, don't leak out every single time, you know, like help out on the glass a little bit, especially for a team, especially certain situations when the team goes smaller. Like I would love for him to sort of hang back just a tiny bit. He is great in transition. I don't want to take that away. But yeah, I don't know. I think the defense for me is just like, I hear what you're saying, but I do think that like more of this should just be on him to take more responsibility of that.
Yeah, I think we agree wholesale. Mm-hmm. Like whether you have athletic gifts that allow you to move sideways, really, like you can be Amen Thompson, but Amen Thompson is also a demon. Like he wants to get to the spot, and he wants to put his hands in the cookie jar. And RJ has like almost historically low block and steal rates for his position because he is very passive, and you can just take such big strides by being a guy who's like, I'm diving headfirst into this, and he doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, overall, he still had a pretty good impact on this game. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Jakob, it was really interesting watching Jakob because like the last couple of games, Jakob kind of got lost in the offense just a little bit. I mean, he went from like 30-point games, getting a Jakob Poeltl nickname, to like, wow, he got his first basket against the Pelicans in the third quarter, and that was his only basket. Now, whatever. And you know what? They could have played the Pelicans anyway they wanted to. The Pelicans are so sad. But yeah, I mean, number one, I'll ask you, like, why did Jakob kind of like disappear in terms of prominence for about a week? And also, what made him so effective today where he was 10 of 11?
Yeah, before, I think as of like November 22nd or 23rd, the sixth best screen partnership in all of the NBA was Davion Mitchell and Jakob Poeltl. Like those two, they were like 1.10 points per pick, not possession, per pick. And you can have multiple picks on possession. It's a lot.
Sure.
And Davion was the guy who looked to Jakob the most. Like full stop. Davion wasn't trying to score that much. He wanted to drag the defense wide so that Jakob could get deep one-on-ones or deep 1-on-0.5s after the catch. And obviously Jakob is one of the best role men in the NBA. That works great. When Davion goes to the bench, Jakob loses that, not only because it's no longer Davion, but it's Scotty instead of Davion. They're just going to switch. So now, instead of being a short roll savant and like a pick and roll savant, everything Jakob is doing is now he has to post the guy up, catch, make a move to score. Whereas that's not exactly what he wants to do. And it looked better tonight. The Raptors really looked for him in this game, but that's also against a Heat team that sends Bam sprinting above the break and switches, and also plays without him a bunch. And it's like Jakob versus 6'6" guys. So that's an easy post up instead of 6'8" or 6'9". So that's the biggest difference. Also, RJ handling a little bit less out of the pick and roll because they obviously had been a great partnership. That's mostly it. Is just getting used to the Scotty of it all, because Scotty is without a doubt the best player on this team, but the skill level in the NBA has gotten so high that tendencies are really important. Play styles, how they mesh is really, really important. And there's so many different, there's a lot of minutia to how the pick and roll works. Like Russell Westbrook works really well with like 18 big men in the NBA, and it's unbelievable. But then there's a couple guys he's completely incompatible with. Davion worked really well with him. Scotty has to figure it out. But that's mostly, like, I think honestly that's the good direct answer for why Jakob wasn't scoring as much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair. And that's where it's, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily beyond the skill sets of both players and also the coaching staff to be able to find like better solutions. I mean, they might not look as sexy as like, we're gonna run, Jakob catching in the pocket and throwing up floaters like 10 times a game. It might not be as noticeable as that, but like, as you mentioned today, like with all the switches, it's like, okay, then you got to find a way to find Jakob in the post, feed him. Obviously, ideally in a situation where he's more one-on-one, then he can use his size. I thought he did a great job of that, presenting himself. I thought the Raptors also kept it in mind to sort of feed Jakob, which was nice. But I think maybe long-term, like I would love to see maybe just more, I would say like more chemistry between the main players and Scotty in general, because we're kind of looking at a situation where it's like Scotty doesn't really have great chemistry with IQ, right? I guess it just hasn't necessarily worked out. They also haven't shared the court enough times. So hopefully over the course of this season, we'll get to see a much bigger sample and they get to work through that. Seems like him and Jakob right now, as you mentioned, they can switch, neutralize a lot of the advantages there. Okay, so like even if you're gonna get off the ball, duck in, throw the ball in the post, that's still not like ultimately a super efficient play. Scotty and RJ, I think, are actually preparing pretty decently, which I don't mind at all. So we're gonna keep that aside. But like, I
Can
would
I
love
say
for
quickly?
yeah. What's up?
Ironically, there was all the hand wringing about Pascal and Scotty, but Scotty typically pairs well with guys who drive a lot. As much as everyone was like, "Oh, just like shoot the ball," we need spacing around Scotty. Scotty is not going to drive 17 times a game and be like that dude. So guys who are willing to like bulldoze into the paint actually pair quite well with him.
Yeah, I mean, the best moments that we've seen from Scotty, like best sustained stretches, was the start of last season. And I'm not gonna give all the credit to like because Pascal was there and he was the number one option, because like that was also the same for the first 2 years of his career too.
Sure.
But Scotty had a really good start to that year, and the 3-point shooting was also in a really good stretch too. So, yeah, I mean, he's kind of naturally unselfish in that way, so he plays nicely off of scores. I think him and RJ just also kind of, especially in the open court, they certainly have a good chemistry. Although it's always easier to have good chemistry when you can throw each other lobs. Like, it's like, yeah, man. I don't know what that's like, but yeah, I mean, I would love to see other guys sort of like anticipate and be able to like be very, very strictly like effective pairing with Scotty.
Yeah.
And I do think that one of my theories for this, and this is not like a critique or anything, this is just like I think a stylistic note. I feel like a lot of times, like the rest of the teammates are not necessarily reading what Scotty wants to do. Like they can't necessarily anticipate. Like RJ's a very predictable player when you're his teammate. I think that's why Jakob like leads the league in offensive rebounds. Is like, okay, RJ's gonna drive off my screen. He's gonna go to the basket. He's gonna shoot at the basket, or he's gonna pass it to me. But there's a great chance there's a good chance that there would be a lot of offensive rebounds short around the basket. So I should crash really hard, and then just do his thing. Like a guy's really kind of, they know what RJ's gonna do, and so they know what positions to be in. Versus, I feel like with Scotty, it's not so much like there's not like a one thing that he really, really wants to do. So, yeah.
He hasn't figured out his surefire way to create. And there is a small thing that the Raptors do that has been really good, and that's by running the double drag, which is the two screens set above the break. And the bottom screen will typically be Emmanuel Quickley or Grady, and they will shallow the cut to the side that Scotty is coming from. It helps manipulate tag defenders. It helps manipulate rotations. And best case scenario, a lot of the times, it will open up a driving lane for Scotty after he gets the Jakob pick, or it will allow a wide open skip three to the guy who's in movement, either Grady or IQ. The tough thing is that once Scotty came back, he had neither of those guys to run like his pet action with.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, they have to figure out more stuff. Like it requires work. Scotty's a very unique player. It requires work to figure out how exactly he fits in. And covering like so many of his, like we've covered every season that Scotty's played in.
Yep.
The numbers look different in play types every year. Like it can swing wildly in isolation from really good to really bad. In pick and roll, it's gone really good, really bad. Like it can toggle back and forth.
Sure.
And that speaks to like this team isn't exactly sure how to get him dependable looks. And it requires work. But he's a tough player to plan that for because like his live dribble stuff is not really predictable. And as you said, like teammates have a hard time planning for it as well. So we're up in the air right now. We don't really know.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, we don't really know is also he's having a really good year on the whole. Yeah. Like he's had a triple double. I'm just trying to say, like, again, looking long term, seeing how these sort of things pan out. And these are the kind of trends that I want to watch for. Last thing I wanted to get to before we get to questions. By the way, I forgot to remind people, leave your questions in the chat. We'll be getting to them in the second half of the program. As always, producer Alex Wong is in the chat looking for those. So leave your questions in the chat. I'm sure Alex has already done this, but leave your W's in the chat as well. I'm you know, the streamer lifestyle is crazy. The other thing too is just please leave a like on the stream. So for people who are going to tune in the mornings thereafter, it helps the algorithm. It helps people. There's a big audience here. They really enjoyed it. And YouTube's like, okay, I'll just try to recommend this to more Raptor fans. Okay, so last thing I really wanted to get to was so Jakobi's been starting the last 2 games as a rookie. And interesting thing today, Darko actually not only chose to start Jakobi, but he ends up closing the game with Jakobi. And I do think on one hand, it's like you want to replace a shooter with a shooter. Grady's been the shooter with the starting lineup. He's been out for the trip. That's why Jakobi's getting this opportunity. But he doesn't really play like Grady. He's certainly not like the just moving off ball and like just really able to sort of like, you know, like the 2-3 set plays that they can run for Jakobi in place of Grady. That's not what's happening. In fact, a lot of these games, I'm like, wow, we really do miss Grady. And I think Grady, to the earlier question about Scotty, would help him a lot. But Jakobi's bringing this other kind of skill set. And number one, to me, he just looks really poised. But I actually really liked his defense in a lot of these moments here today. What have you been seeing from Jakobi with the starting lineup and just him in general?
So we talked about how RJ has a tough time sliding. Jakobi does not. That guy can slide with the best of them. Yeah. He, like the Raptors, have been top 5 in backcourt pressure. They've been top 5 in how long it takes defenses to cross half court. They've been top 5 in pickup point, like the 49 feet, the average pickup point in the NBA. Okay. They go pick up the ball. And Davion Mitchell has obviously been doing the lion's share of that work. But, you know, as Andre in the chat says, Jamamba, and Coco says Jakobi's very light on his feet. Those guys, they like Jakobi, he's done a fantastic job picking up. Terry Rozier was in hell a little bit. He obviously hit threes in the half court, but as far as bringing the ball up, Jakobi was sliding with him. And that's something that's been really impressive because of Jakobi's slight frame. You might have guessed that guys will be able to kind of like take the lane when they want it. We saw it happen with Grady. Like Grady was beating guys to spots and guys were still kind of like blowing through his shoulder. With Jakobi, he's sliding and applying pressure. Like some of that's in the feet, the way you're able to like create angles to push against guys, to fight them back. Some of that's in quickness to, you know, get the right part of your body to beat them. But whatever it is that's working for Jakobi, it's working. And that's been fantastic to watch, especially for like, as you said, when you look up and down, like IQ had a really bad defensive season last year with the Raptors. RJ, we talked about the struggles defensively. Scotty, I think, is best used not at the point of attack defensively. Grady, I mean, we know Grady struggles defensively. They need someone to pop on defense. So Jakobi, let's hope. And it looks pretty good so far.
He does look really good. He's got the advantages of being quick, being light on his feet. I mean, he is just a lighter player in general, but he does look wiry and strong. I think to me, the other thing too is he's not overdoing it. And maybe it's because the last couple of games he's been able to start and he knows, okay, I'm going to start the game. I'm going to close out the, you know, second quarter, for example. And then I'm going to, you know, just be with the starting lineup at the start of the third quarter. Like there's maybe more of a nicer rhythm for him, because I did feel like in the, again, super limited sample, but like the 2 games that he played before he got injured or re-injured on the shoulder, it did look like he was like a little bit too out there in certain moments. I think, for example, I've been watching like Jamal Shed this season and I love a lot what he does, but he just like, he goes overboard a little bit too much sometimes and he kind of overplays. That's always that's a good thing, I think, in the long run. You can kind of correct that, but like at the same time, the last couple games, I feel like Jakobi's struck a really nice balance. He's not over eager to make the defensive play. Like the first play that he got against the Pelicans, he forced an air ball after he knocked down the three, and that was just like, okay, what way to settle into the game. There was a play today where I think it was late shot clock in the second quarter. Duncan Robinson had the ball, and I think Duncan was trying to I think he maybe still had his dribble left, but he just caught it off a DHO as he always does. And then he's like, okay, I'm probably going to try to get to a three before the shot clock's up. And Jakobi just played him really perfectly, mirrored him, took away all the space, took it all away from him. And I think he ultimately blocked it at the very end. But it wasn't like an overeager block where he was selling out for the block. I think he was just a block in the sense that he beat him to the spot, put his hand up, and, it's hard to shoot over that, especially if Duncan has to sidestep or whatever. But, he's hit a really good balance. And then on the offensive end, there's more ball handling from him that I feel like, more than anything else, okay, he's drafted as a shooter. He hasn't really shot the ball that efficiently. Even in college, he took a lot of hard shots, but he didn't shoot a great percentage. In summer league, he didn't shoot a great percentage. So far in the NBA, he hasn't necessarily shot a great percentage. But number one, I like the type of shots that he's taking. And number two, he does seem to be comfortable, at least doing a little bit of ball handling. And there was the read that he made today where he put a bit, he went between the legs and then created a bit of an angle, and that was the reason he went between the legs. And then that angle, he was able to slide the pass over to Jakob, who was diving to the basket for a layup. Small stuff like that, where it's just he looks more poised in these last two games, and I've been really impressed. For me, he has not been a negative, which is a huge compliment for any rookie in the starting lineup.
Yeah, having a rookie who can kind of exist on the court and it doesn't look insane is already okay, good.
Yeah.
We're glad. Because some rookies go out on the court and it looks insane. To be quite frank with you, that can be something that happens. And Jakobi, it doesn't look insane. The efficiency, if you believe in the shot, you believe in the shot. We went through this with Grady, although Jakobi is not the level of shooter coming out of college that Grady was. But if you look at the jumper and the Raptors drafted him, if he doesn't shoot, he probably won't be in the NBA for a long time. So you either believe he's going to shoot and you look at the 2 for 10 from three and say, tough. You kind of hand wave it away. If it's going really well, hyper index on it. He might be the next best thing. If it's not going well, it'll come around. It's been fun to see him so far. A couple, the rebounding has been, you talked about RJ, get back, help out on the glass. Jakobi's been doing it. And even kind of because the Raptors, they tag up, it's how they play transition defense, right? And Jakobi is doing such a good job tagging up that he gets these opportunities for offensive rebounds. And he's had that attention detail on the defensive end. And I just think he's done a good job of acquitting himself to what the Raptors want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's it's been fun. I mean, the shot, whatever, it'll come. I'm not too worried necessarily about any of these rookies, because I think pretty much all of them are exceeding expectations at the moment. But Jakobi, it's exciting because he's almost been forgotten about just a little bit because he's been hurt for the start of the season here, and Grady's played so well that it's you're just not going to get a chance to see a lot of Jakobi. But silver linings and all that kind of stuff. He was good. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to your questions, and we'll get to a break here because we wanted to bring you a message from one of our lovely sponsors. But last thing, I just thought, I mean, man, I don't want to get in trouble, Chris. Chris, we're in a good spot right now, man. Just personal relationship wise, I feel or professional relationship wise, it's good. See each other, whatever. But I just thought this was one of Chris's best games. It was tough. There was a timeout that Darko called in the first quarter where he specifically called it almost to just get Chris in line. It feels like. There was also a stretch in the third quarter where it was I felt like Chris was kind of at fault or partially at fault for 4 straight threes that the Heat made. I was it's just tough. Whatever. We know that Chris can kind of go up and down, but I think this was one of Chris's best games. Anyway, let's go take a quick break right here, bring in a message from our sponsor, and then we'll be taking your questions. So once again, get those questions into the chat.
Hey, Will, the holidays are coming up, man. What you got planned?
Probably gonna do some shopping. Great time to get some gifts for your loved ones, and that's what we're doing here today. What are you gonna do, Alex?
Yeah, I'm a real grown adult, so I've got a lot of responsibilities to worry about, including taking care as a homeowner of this podcast. Have to think about my mortgage all the time. So for people that have a mortgage up for renewal, Lock in the best rates and products with Dominion Lending Centers. Visit www.dominionlending.ca.
Man, I gotta say, for people watching that ad, with big shots to Dominion Lending, by the way, but for people watching that ad, I get a huge kick out of seeing Alex recline like so far back in the seat and being like, "Yeah, I'm an adult." I'm like, I love it, man. He is certainly an adult with a mortgage, and yeah, he's a great spokesman for this. Okay, so we are gonna get to your questions, and it's time now for the Tangerine fan inbox. And by now you already know the deal. Okay, Tangerine is the official bank of the Toronto Raptors, foundational partner of WNBA Canada and NBA Canada. And of course, they're not just fans of basketball, they're fans of basketball. They're fans of fans who have their own nickname, who travel on the road. I always love seeing those commercial breaks where they come out of it and they find other Raptor fans everywhere. That's a pretty consistent theme. Raptors have a really great fan base. And honestly, like, we've been doing a lot of rewatching 2019 for a special project will come up soon. But
cool,
like, just seeing Tangerine's been around for so long, and they've always sort of like looked to partner with the Raptors in the basketball space. They're genuine fans of basketball. And this year, for the Raptors' 30th anniversary, they're turning the spotlight from the court to the stands and celebrating the way we fan, because this is Tangerine, and this is how we fan. To learn more, visit tangerine.ca/basketball. All right, producer Alex, what you got for the first question? Kaylin? Kaylin?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, Kaylin. Would you rather have Boucher's slingshot release or Shed's gritty instincts? I mean, I would love to, the sports science segments that ESPN used to do, like
John Brinkus.
Yeah.
LeBron James steps with the power of a Mack truck.
Yeah. Like a Bill Nye the Science Guy meets like David Attenborough somehow. That kind of vibe. I would love for that to be done on Chris's shot. Just I want to know the physics on the shot, because like he hits it at a pretty good rate for such an unorthodox release. But I think I'd probably rather have Boucher's slingshot release. The one thing is this thing never gets blocked, at least. So
yeah.
The
efficacy is what matters.
Okay.
Like if I shoot it now as good as Chris Boucher, people already call me a lunch pail guard. People are already like, yeah, he's trying hard out there when I play basketball. So
no,
I mean, like that.
You can't get more gritty. You're already gritty. You're already TJ McConnell. You're pretty nice, man.
Every white guard gets the kiss of death of being called lunch pail. Sometimes it's when you're 19, sometimes it's when you're 24, but every white guard gets it. I think I got it when I was like 24, and I fell to my knees. I was like, no,
that's tough.
Yep. But yeah, I think I take the trebuchet.
Yeah.
I'll
take the trebuchet, because I'm not trying to play that hard in any sort of sport. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm past that point in life. Like, I just want to get a good sweat in. I want to get some shots up. If I make them, I make them. If I don't make them, I'll probably yell at my teammates. Yeah, that's I'm a bad teammate. All right, next question. This is a great question though. Thomas, how come we don't see more Scotty as a handoff hub / keeper plays? Samson, I'm gonna pass you the ball, man.
This reminds me of a conversation I had with Matt Moore. This was right after he had like what Raptors fans remember him for is like, how the hell is Fred VanVleet making these threes? What the hell is happening with Fred VanVleet's threes?
Yeah,
he and I did a podcast after the Raptors went to the finals, and he said something that really stuck with me, because he was like, Giannis should be good at all these things, but Giannis doesn't want to do these things. So what happens? Scotty doesn't want to be a handoff hub and run keeper plays. He did it when he first got to the league because he had to. Scotty does not want to do that. And not only do they have a far superior screener in Jakob, but Scotty doesn't like screening that much. Scotty doesn't plant hard screens. Scotty doesn't want to do that. And that matters. Like, again, he has these physical tools. He has these talents, but there's a man there, and the man doesn't want to be Sabonis light. He doesn't want to. He wants to, LeBron James. I'm the only Ty Crane. Like, he wants to do his own thing, man. Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. The last thing I want to see is Scotty trying to play like Sabonis, man. Honestly, it makes me hate watching Kings games because I'm like, oh wow, what is it again? Another dribble handoff? Like DeMontis like just artificially pumping his way to triple doubles every game because he's just dribble handoff everything.
He has like 9 elbows. It seems like he's made of elbows.
Yeah, it's also like, okay, whatever. There's obviously like a big league wide trend to like do dribble handoffs, and like it's it's another way to counter because teams have got really good at guarding pick and rolls, and it's a great way to sort of like turn your bigs into playmakers and move the defense, but whatever. Like there's obviously a lot of basketball merit to it, but I think the bigger point is like franchises aren't trying to make DeMontis Sabonis their franchise player. I mean, as much as DeMontis is probably Sacramento's best player or most impactful player, maybe the player they can least, replace. I mean, what would they do without those dribble handoffs? But like, that's still not like a team's not going on paper and like
these triple
yeah, they're like, oh man, Keegan Murray's just like, I got a screen now. I can't just like pop a 3 and get hot occasionally. But yeah, like I don't think the Raptors would like be calling out the ISO as a franchise and being like, Scotty, you're our franchise player, and Darko using every challenge possible to defend Scotty. Darko, man, come on, you gotta be a little lower with it. You can't be so obvious. There was like a play 3 minutes into the game where Scotty got called for a moving screen on a dribble handoff actually. And Jimmy like whatever got hit on the screen and he kind of like played up the contact, whatever, it's Jimmy. And then Scotty was like, no, review it. And it's like, dude, it's not it didn't put Scotty in foul trouble. It didn't result in free throws. It resulted in a change of possession, which who cares? It actually resulted in a tech for Scotty because he was arguing with the call. But the Darko was like, yeah, I'll call timeout and challenge. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? It's been 3 minutes, man. Like, I promise you, Scotty will ask him for again. But my point is, like, yeah, nobody's trying to make a dribble handoff guy. Like, they're superstar player, unless of course it's Jokic, which obviously he does everything, not just dribble handoffs, but
singular. Yep.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, do you think the Raptors would be better if they turn him into a handoff hub guy? I don't think so. They need his play creation.
I'll say, I hope he does it sometimes over the course of his career. Like It's a great wrinkle. There'll be corner offense stuff that they'll be able to run. Like, think of all the different roles, and he's not LeBron, but think of all the different things LeBron has done throughout his career.
Sure.
Why not make Scotty a high post hub at times, but just as like a knuckleball, a change up,
Yeah, but also out of love of the game, like, I wouldn't make LeBron a dribble handoff guy either, man. I don't think Mike Brown ever was like, you know what? In the future, I'm going to coach this guy called DeMontis Sabonis. Can you just do that for me now?
Do you think like a 2011 Miami podcaster was like, we need to like make Dwayne Wade the lead scorer and LeBron needs to be setting screens? I'm sure that happened. There's a Bill Simmons episode about it.
I mean, he was probably like, hey guys, what do you think, man? Chris Boshford, Dwight Howard. Well, hang up and listen. Actually, that trade probably wasn't on the table at the time. Dwight Howard at the time was pretty sick.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Next one from Tina. Will there ever be a reaction podcast appearance by Will's Cats? Asking this because of the I love my cat mug. Yeah, I am very much the I love my cats. I love my cats. Kind of guy.
Oh,
I have 3 cats running around the house. I gotta like lock them out, before I go live on air. There's just like, how cats are. They're like the number one thing they love to do is like, oh, you're working right now. I love to just like crawl up and sit all over your laptop. Or like, oh, you're working right now? I'm going to start meowing for no reason. You know what I mean? And that's not to say I spoil the cats. You know what I mean? Like I try to keep like a working balance, a good working relationship, a good cat parental relationship with these guys. But no, they're scoundrels, and we can't have them on the pod, unfortunately. But maybe, Tina, I'll send you pictures of the cats. We can compromise with that. Are you a pet guy?
I love, dogs. Any animal is great. Like animals are fantastic. Huge animal lover. But don't have a pet right now.
Yeah,
in Toronto. Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Is it like, are they not allowing you to have a pet? Like,
no, it's just so I have a dog in Mexico who's with an ex actually, but he's a Chihuahua. Like I've taken him to Canada before. The snow is like not doable for him. So that's fair. And I would feel wrong getting a dog. I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're loyal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a special little guy, you know?
Because I'm like, yo, if one of my cats goes, like, you know, knock on wood and everything, you know, but like, I'm getting another cat ASAP, man.
Yeah.
Anyway. Next one from Lil John. Shouts to Lil John. Samson, I'm surprised you said that you're higher on RJ than IQ. IQ has won his minutes his entire career. Do you still feel this way? Yeah, what did you say? You're higher on RJ than IQ? I mean,
I said
regular opinion to have, I guess.
Preseason, I said I was I thought that RJ might end up being better than IQ, and I think the calculus here is pretty simple. Winning minutes is not it is very important, but again, Raptors fans didn't care at all when Fred VanVleet won minutes. They said he's the destroyer of worlds. He's ruined this franchise. Nobody cared that Fred won minutes. Nobody cared that Pascal won minutes. Nobody cared about winning minutes when suddenly it wasn't like a niche thing to point to. Nobody cared that Kyle Lowry.
I didn't know we had Bane on the podcast.
Yeah. Nobody cared when Kyle Lowry was like a plus whatever when he scored 0 points in game 1 against the Magic. Like winning minutes is important. But there's a couple things that motivated me to feel this way is that I think Emmanuel probably will struggle a little bit in the playoff context. I think that Emmanuel's big jump in assist percentage is aided by the same things that Dennis Schroeder benefited from, the same things that Davion Mitchell benefits from. And I think that his defense, while we pick on RJ for his defense a lot, we had a long conversation about it. IQ was disastrous on that end last year, provided very little. And I thought that his off-ball defense, reputation was maybe like New York media adjacent. But he does. Emmanuel has a much easier path to be better than RJ. And to this question is do I still feel this way? Yeah, probably. But am I sad if IQ is awesome? Not you want players to be good. You want players to be awesome. So I've been a skeptic of some parts of IQ's game.
Yeah.
But IQ has, if he picks it up on defense and he has the tools to be able to do so, great. If he's a little bit more effective as a pick and roll ball handler, great. If he starts using the extra dribble in the lane more often to really advance who he is as a driver, great. If he can finish through contact more often, great. He's already he's a better shooter than Grady. He's the best shooter on the team. He's a tremendous shooter. He can run offense.
Is he a better shooter than Grady?
He's 40% with a bullet every year. It's not the same type of threes.
Yeah.
But I think he is a better shooter.
Can't argue with 40.
But that's the pitch for why RJ could end up being better than IQ. But if I want IQ to be an all-star. My fingers are crossed for it, man. I certainly hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe this is I think two things. Number one, I guess there's player fandom in general. I just find we've
talked about this before.
Yeah,
I remember
and it's just kind of pointless in a team context. It's I want my son to be the leading scorer of the AAU team kind of thing. It's just that's not even your son, man. You gotta know that, right? No matter how much you attach your personality to him, that's not your son. Shouts to Ronnie Hollis Jefferson. The other thing is just I think for the Raptors to collectively make a jump, they need RJ and IQ to be both very good for this team as is to sort of make any sort of impact. And right now, obviously this season, we're looking ahead to the draft, but I still would even with another prospect added to this group, for this group itself to actually show, great signs of advancement and them figuring things out. And that's why I like tracking things what kind of chemistry these guys have with each other, not in terms of do they like each other, do they not like each other. That's back to my child territory. I would love to see it on the basketball level. And I love hearing your perspective on these things. And, I think you've been pretty fair in terms of all the kinds of, yeah, what's up?
We've got idolatry in the wrong places at times.
Yeah, for sure. It's also sports, man. Come on. People just have discussions about it and then they just move on. It's not that serious, at least. Impact-wise, not that serious. Do we have any more questions, Alex? All right. Looks like we have no more questions. So I actually did have one prepared for you myself, Samson. There was a moment on the broadcast that was shown where Ochai Agbaji got the chain yesterday. And or not yesterday, after the Pelicans game. And this was Darko's quote to Ochai Agbaji. Darko said, quote, "I will never call you out. I will call you up." Samson, I need to hear from your perspective. Is this, well, number one, we can both agree this is great coaching. This is also like, in general, I thought like clearly he wanted a better performance from his player and he got it. Ochai had a really good game. And then he got the chain, whatever. But just the phrase in general, "I will never call you out. I will call you up." So, I mean, are we not like, come on, man, we're not kids. Like, we know what this is. Like, what?
If that's his own, it's a great little, it's a twist on a classic formula. However, this quote is like when you'd meet somebody, they'd add you on Facebook or like Twitter or something, and you go and it's just them like retweeting or saying like these types of things. And you're like, oh God, oh Lord. Like that's what this kind of quote is. But as far as like in the room, kind of a banger. Pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, clearly, again, the room received it well. It was great. I just, like it's so Darko. Like Darko has such a specific brand, and like if you want to call it the Ted Lasso thing or whatever, but like as long as it works, I don't care what gets the job done.
The players like him.
Players do love Darko. Like there's no doubt about that. Like players do love Darko. Players don't see this as like what I mean, like, and that's the most important part. That's the job. I just think that like out of all the quotes that we've gotten from Darko over the years, this is like the most quintessential one. I'll never call you out. I will call you up. I'm not Nick Nurse. I will not call you out, but I will call you up.
If I get gifted jewelry and someone says that to me, I'm melting. I'm melting. Like, wow, you shouldn't have. Thank
Darko
you.
got crazy riz for a coach.
Yeah, man.
This is what we're determining here. So shouts to Darko for getting I mean, honestly, Darko's done a good job overall in the season. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. Like, I've obviously mentioned some of the play calls. I want the defense to improve. Defense improved. It's like, great. That's awesome. You know what I mean? Darko, I will never call you out. I will call you up.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, Samson, we're gonna let you go here. Appreciate you. All right, we'll talk to you once again next week. What kind of sicko stuff are you working on? Also, you always do live streams on Saturdays, right?
Yeah. So actually, tomorrow's will be at noon with S, so that should be pretty fun. Okay. I kind of want to go over some of Mobo's defensive tape, and then we'll open up to listener questions. So if anybody's interested, you could just get at me on Twitter. But thank you very much for bringing me on, Will. Thank you for the production, Alex. I will see everybody later. Whoa.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we're gonna call Samson out, and we're gonna call Alex up. Alex, I need your take on this quote now.
Yo, first of all, man, you guys gotta stop letting these Darko quotes distract you from the fact that the Raptors are 5-15. Okay, like we've got the Vince Carter retirement jersey that distracted everybody. They'd be hanging the Vince Carter jerseys. You know, everybody really enjoyed that City Edition court. You know, that little Grady Dick alley-oop to RJ Barrett. You know, held
RJ,
down
kidding
for a
me?
few days. I will never call you out. I will call you up. Come on, man. What are we doing here, man?
Yo, I swear, like, again, this is not me laughing at Darko. Like, this is not that. It's just like it is objectively to me. I just like it works. This stuff clearly works. You know what I mean? But if a manager brought me into a room and was like, "Yo, never call you out, but I'm gonna call you up," I'm like, God, just tell me what you need from me and move, man. Just
I don't know, man.
Just put the price in the bag, bro.
Do you think this was on the spot, or do you think he had this like scripted?
Nah, I mean, I feel like he had this, like he cooked this up beforehand, or maybe there's like something that happened during the game, or maybe like a brief moment of respite, and he thought this up. Like he's like using the washroom, and he's like, that's a bar right here. There's like an IG caption level bar, you know.
I'm just saying it's a rebuilding season. I get it. We're not really counting the wins like that, but let's still have some standards and stuff.
Oh no, let's no standards, no shame.
Let's not be geeking out over these Ted Lasso level quotes, man. Come on, man. Also, why are you and Samson talking Bill Simmons without me, man?
Did we?
You guys mentioned Simmons. That's worse.
What did we say?
I don't know. You guys said this sounds like it would be a Bill Simmons segment.
Did I?
Yeah, this
Yo,
is
you
like
gotta stop
worse.
being so possessive, man. You gotta
That's
stop
fine.
being so possessive, bro. You know you're
That's
the
fine.
co-host.
Yo, let's wrap this up soon. I got my flu shot and my COVID booster today, but both my arms are, in cat. I don't know. I can't move right now.
Oh, word? Oh, okay.
I can't lift my arm. I did buy this new leather jacket though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why are you all strapped up for the pod, man?
From shouts to Curado Gallery.
Oh, yeah.
They're 25% off. 688 Richmond. Go visit
Yo, they got a
them.
lot of good, really, really good Raptor pieces.
We recorded an episode there this week, so that'll be coming out next week. So make sure you check that out. Also, why do I look so pale, man? Do I look ill?
Are you okay?
Anyways, can you please drop?
Let me drop the
Darko
banner. Let me drop the banner. All right.
So just watching the Miami Heat. Miami improved to 9-8 tonight with the victory. They're going to be playing again on Sunday. Right now on Betway, the under for 44.5 wins for Miami is 1.95 odd. And I don't know, man. What do you make of this Miami Heat team? They won 46 games last season.
Yeah.
The roster remained the same. I know they added Scary Terry late last season. Jimmy Butler is aging. Bam, however you feel about Bam Adebayo. I know Tyler Hero's been having a good season.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like this Miami team really has like another level, another gear to go to, and I think it's been reflected so far this season. I like them to come in. I think they project as a 500 team to me, so I like them to actually go under on their updated over/under here, 44.5.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to know like what's the recent history of Miami going under on the win projections, because like they're the classic team that like does well in the playoffs, so the lingering memory is like they're a better team than they are, or like they're a really good team, and then they always have like relatively underwhelming regular seasons. Like this is not a team that's when was the last time Miami had 50 wins? Like it hasn't been that many times, even since like the Heatles era, you know what I mean? And so this is a team that like excels at sort of doing this, kind of thing and staying sort of between like 40, between 45 and like 50 wins in that range. They're just always there year after year. I think it's interesting because I feel like Spo's trying a bunch of stuff out. He obviously had that big, brain fart at the end of that game where he had the, Chris Webber moment. He called that timeout he didn't have. But yeah, I mean, I think in general, this Miami team, like, this is a really good number. I'd actually probably just avoid in general because 44.5 is like exactly, I think, where Miami's going to come in at. But I mean, if you don't like what you're seeing right now, they have some weird ups and downs. Jimmy Butler randomly has like a game where he only takes 2 shots. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, Bam had a lot of struggles coming out the gate this year. He did pretty good in this game, but the thing with Miami is just like it's hard to rule them out because they just have so many guys. Like guys will just step in and contribute. So
yeah, but they're just guys, man. Anyways,
they're like just guys.
Under 44.5. Make sure you hit the QR code below to get all your basketball odds from Betway. Yeah, I changed the lighting on my ring light, so now I look normal again.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow, congrats, man.
It's fixed, man. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just want you to look fine because you seemed fine yesterday. When we were mad jawing it up with fans.
Yeah,
that's actually really cool.
Shouts to the fans, listeners.
Name the fan right now.
Hang out with yesterday, playing mahjong at Hongqing. Sorry for yelling at you guys.
No, it's okay.
Gets a little competitive.
I'll never call you out. I'm just gonna call you up.
Yeah, let's wrap this up because I gotta go back to watching The Madness on Netflix featuring our guy NSS.
Oh, so that's actually gonna be sick because
2 episodes.
I actually will
so
be.
Far.
Yeah, what's your early review, man?
Yeah, want more Ennis. I know
what's Ennis's role?
Domingo's the lead, so I don't want to spoil it. But Ennis does play a big role in episode 1.
Oh, okay.
Pops up again in episode 2, and he's featured in the thumbnail of episode 6 on Netflix.
Ooh, so, this guy's sneak peeking at Ennis. That's sick, man. Shouts to Ennis Esmer, 2-time Canadian Screen Award winner. He's a good friend of ours, but he's a fantastic actor, and he's actually in this new Netflix show, obviously starring Coleman Domingo.
And there's Netflix also dropped a new 3-part John Benet Ramsey documentary, so I'm about to dive in on that as well. So.
I mean, the only 3-part people want to know right now is the 3 stars. So let's get to the 3 stars. Pretty obvious. Scotty Barnes, your first star, 24 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, a steal, a block. Would love for him to cut down on the turnovers, 5. But generally, he played a really good game, 38 minutes, 2-way effort for him. I'm going to give Jakob the second star, 24 points, 10 rebounds, 10 of 11 from the field. Super efficient game for the man they call Jakob Poeltl as of this past month. Goes 4 or 5 from the foul line, which is great too. 4 offensive rebounds. Just in general, played well. I thought they did a good job countering Miami's zone. Raptors, I guess, playing Miami again on Sunday. So I'm curious to see sort of how the two coaches sort of adjust to each other. But in general, those two guys played really great. And then RJ was super impactful on the offensive end. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists for RJ. Would love to see him cut down the turnovers. I think him playing at home in general, we're going to see an even higher level from RJ. But it's also a really big compliment to the Heat, or to RJ, that the Heat decided to blitz him and send double teams his way. Says a lot about sort of like his impact on this game. Your Gerald Henderson award winner, that's got to go to Terry Rozier. I mean, we've seen him have bigger games than this, but the 4 threes that he made in the second half really kind of, blew the doors wide open. It's either him or Jaime Jaquez Jr., who I did erroneously pick to be my 6th man of the year. So far, it's not looking great for him. He played the same amount of minutes as Pelly Larson, bro. What you know about Pell Larson? Number 9.
No, man. That's
okay.
Keep it moving,
Let's keep it moving. Okay. Your most important guy from tonight, and of course, a reminder, our most important guy is presented by Greta Bar YYZ. That is located at 590 King Street West. It is your go-to spot for pregame, postgame, to watch the games. Obviously, first and foremost, it is Toronto's #1 barcade. And again, it's a great spot to go to. We've obviously hosted live watch parties there. Everyone had a really great time at Greta Bar YYZ. Your most important guy from tonight is Alex Wong for doing a flu game. You've heard of the flu game, but this is the flu shot game.
You had nobody tonight, man. How about we give it to like Amy Audibird or something, man?
What did you see from Amy tonight?
Covering the Miami Heat,
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I didn't watch that. I watched the TSN broadcast with Jack and Matt. What do you mean?
Oh, right.
You want me to get the radio feed? I want to get that.
Yeah, you don't want to hear Amy Audibird and Jason Jackson, Double J?
Yeah, I mean, there were some pretty legendary episodes of the Raptors show when he would come in and he's like, because the Miami guys are so like, they're almost like they're in like a cartel, like a gang together. You know what I mean? Like they're so about it. They're like,
yeah.
He's like, well, you want to know how the color Pat Riley picked for the court? You know what that's called? Not the hex code, but like the actual name of the color.
Yeah,
it's blood red. That's what Miami's about.
This guy gave me the Pantone like color rock. Mike Pantone over there.
I'm like, what code is it, man? Hashtag H325 the CF. Like,
no,
what do you?
The way they drink the Heat Culture Kool-Aid over there.
The Heat Culture Kool-Aid is crazy. You know what they're definitely not saying in Miami? They're definitely not saying I'm never call you out. I'm gonna call you up. Like,
all Pat Riley does is call people out, man.
Oh no, like, they are LeBron, the #1 call out.
Winning's hard. LeBron's like, yeah, I'm gonna leave now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, but again, it all depends on what roster you have, and like we're building a roster of positivity. So
no, you know what?
It's different.
Let's give the MIG to Kevin Love. Just
K-Love?
I can't believe Kevin Love is still doing it, man. This man is from like another era of basketball. Like, do you remember when this guy was putting up like 30 for 30?
Yeah,
like
man.
Bill Simmons on the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, like, why do you love Bill so much?
I know K Love is just like a role player now.
Yeah.
But like, man, think about his career, man. Minnesota, Big 3 in Cleveland, like being part of those teams, and now he's just. I feel like he's gonna age into kind of like a Vince Carter type role where he's just gonna still be there, like into year 20, and you'll be like, oh my God, Kevin Love is still there. So,
I mean, yeah, shouts to Kevin Love. He's still throwing those full court outlet passes. He even had a violation today because he had a foot on the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, I guess Kevin Love's gonna get it.
Whoa, you don't like that?
Yeah, no, it's fine, man. Honestly, I'm very nostalgic for that period where it was like, who's the best power forward in the league? And it was like him versus like LaMarcus Aldridge versus like Blake Griffin out west. They took over from like obviously the Weber, Duncan, KG sort of, comparisons that dominated, I think, the early 2000s. You know what I mean? Like, just great power forwards. Like, I think in general, like, pretty much every good power forward is now a center now, it feels like, or some sort of like weird shooting. I guess not even small forward. Like, pretty much all the power forwards now are centers. Like all those guys would play center in today's league, but like Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's something really nice about a power forward, especially the ones who can like really, really be skilled offensively, play inside and out, score a variety of buckets, also make a big impact on the defensive end. It's just like I guess we kind of have that with Scotty, but like Scotty's kind of like, I guess he runs point for us too. So it's a lot of different things. But I mean, just pour one out in general for the power forward position. I used to love that stuff, man. Ricky Rubio picking and popping with Kevin Love on their way to 41 wins. That was sick, man.
Yeah, no, it shows to K-Love, man.
Okay, all right, Kevin Love's gonna get it. All right, well, thanks everyone for listening. Alex, appreciate you for coming on, and you know what I mean, like, you know,
you'll never call me out. You'll call me up, bro.
Yeah, I'll never call you out. I'll call you up, man. It's actually one of my favorites. Darko, you cooked with that one. Like, I'm gonna bring that into our everyday language use. I feel like that should like enter the vocabulary type of thing. Because like
we need a more toxic environment than that, man.
Well,
toxicity breeds creativity, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
right,
you know what? We could talk about this off air, but appreciate everyone for watching. We'll be back going live on Sunday after the Raptors have their rematch, the home and home series. Like it's a Simmons Zach Lowe pod. All right, it's about to be a home and home. Raptors about to take care of Miami when they play on Sunday. So I'll be going live after that game. But for myself, for Samson, for Alex Wong, this has been the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway.